optimism and local or moral leadership. To give you the answer to the attendance question last time, that was, did Edward Snowden do the right thing? We had 95 say yes, and 63 say no, and unsure was 9. Okay. Which are interesting numbers. So we're going to today discuss a number of things, sort of recap some things from the course, talk about a few new things. In particular, we're going to first talk about attitudes about technology, and this comes from the area of philosophy of technology. So I don't know if you people have heard it from friends or family, this attitude of pessimism. They're very negative about technology. They generally hate it, generally because it's sort of done something bad to them. I mean, it screwed up their billing or whatever it would be. And they sort of feel like it's out of control. It's growing, increasing, and they can't keep up with it. Sometimes the people, in my experience, that feel this way about technology are ones that are, well, they're not technically inclined, and they have a hard time keeping up with learning about technology, and therefore they're sort of upset with it because everybody is using it. They can't understand sometimes why. Okay. Next, there's the general view of optimism. People that love technology, quite a few engineers are like this. They can only see good that can come from technology, or believe that it can solve all the world's problems. Okay? So I think it's good to challenge that view a little bit. Can someone name a problem, a significant world problem, that technology is not really going to be able to solve? Hunger. Oh, come on.
Racism.
We don't have any FABs, food, agriculture, biological engineers in the room, do we? I mean, that's our whole objective, is to end hunger.
But they haven't yet.
They haven't succeeded yet. Yeah, go get on those people. What's wrong? We've been inventing computers and cell phones. What have they been doing? Sitting around our butts? What are these agricultural engineers doing? And the ones that are, genetically modified crops, etc. I don't know. That might be debatable. They haven't done it yet, though. Yes, over here.
We got 3.
All right, 3 of them. Good.
The first one's going to be when the core of the Earth cools down and we no longer have a magnetosphere. The second one's going to be racism, and the third one's going to be when the sun explodes.
Okay, let's leave 1 and 3 alone. Let's talk about racism. Or why don't we make it more general and just, if you don't mind, discrimination.
Okay.
In general, against women or men or different colored people, different people of different religions. Can't technology solve that problem?
All in our heads.
What?
Solve? No. Mitigate? Not in a way that solves.
Okay.
You can set the problem aside and just communicate through the chat rooms, but it's still there.
So maybe via communications we can improve things, is what essentially I think you're saying.
Like various
But-
on the Turing test.
But really, I think it's true. No one I've talked to has ever come up with a technological solution to the problem of discrimination of any sort. Seems impossible. Name another one. Come on, we can do better than that. Or not better than that, but more than that. There's more problems. War. Well, conflict. Of course, technology is used on both sides of war to kill lots of people, of course. We're really good at doing that. But it's also used in peacekeeping too, and humanitarian response. I think it comes on both sides. But if you're talking about root causes of war and conflict, well, on some issues it might be debatable. I mean, if it's water that you're fighting over, maybe there's some new technological solution to generate, better water solution. But often, that's not what's at the core. I would agree with you. The root causes of war are often not something that's technologically solvable. What else?
Greed or equality.
Greed or equality. That's a big one. I mean, how in the world is technology going to address greed? Some people would even argue that more self-centered and focused on yourself and interaction with the technology rather than reaching out to other people and sharing with them. I'm not sure I agree with that. I haven't ever found a study, but you don't understand. There's a fascinating thing that's happening with your generation that's hard for us old people to understand, and that is you people seem to have a broader view of the world, and I think it's because of technology. In other words, you don't have the same perception of distance because of technology, because it's a click away kind of thing. I wasn't, the internet wasn't invented when I was a kid. I mean, computers weren't either, nor a cell phone. Okay? So I think greed, what was the second one you said? Equality. Equality related to discrimination. So,
Resources and stuff like that.
yes, with the fight over resources. Yes, so, anything else?
Like when it comes to war, because this was a homework question. Like when it comes to the war, like technology, for all it good it does, it also does bad though, because it gives, like one of the questions was guns don't kill people, people do. And I agree with that statement, but at the same time, technology gives you the power to have that decision to shoot the gun in some sense. So it makes, with technology comes a lot of power to a lot of decision making. And
Yeah.
you can't change how humans are going to make decisions. That comes back to like greed. There's always going to be that human element to people that are not going to use it for good. And it's just on both ends of the spectrum. Like you can't avoid that.
Yeah, that's a tough issue. How we use technology. Some people sort of wash their hands up and say, technology is amoral, because it matters what humans do with the technology. Some people, I don't buy into that personally. I think that's wrong. Because, for instance, I have a big problem with offensive nuclear war weapons. For offensive, I'm not saying defensive, I'm saying offensive, which are put together, okay? I have a big problem with that. And I have a big problem with landmines, for instance.
So you don't have a problem with defensive. So so when you say offensive, you don't have a problem with defensive. Like say Japan, say World War II. You do not have a problem with the U.S. dropping that nuclear bomb.
Yeah, we're gonna get personal here.
You brought your opinion up.
I know
so
you're getting me. Okay, you put me on. I'll be honest with you. In the U.S., I have never met a person that has a problem with the dropping of the 2 nuclear bombs. You have. Okay, well, I'm number 2. Right? I do have a problem with it because, I know the arguments about saving lives. They were going to invade the south of the island, and it was estimated there were going to be 1 million deaths. Okay? And some people say, nuclear bombs, that's irrelevant. You know what we did to civilians when we were firebombing their cities? Earlier than the nuclear bombs, they had a problem with it. When they did construction, their homes would burn very easy. They're made out of various materials. Wood materials are very flammable. And so we were firebombing them. We were knocking out way more civilians than those 2 nuclear bombs did. Okay? So, the way that war is prosecuted, I have a lot of concerns about, personally. The way a number of things have gone on, a number of conflicts that a lot of people in this country are very supportive of, I've got concerns about. The big picture might be okay, but the pieces matter too. You can't ignore the atrocities that have been committed, for instance, by the U.S., okay, but other countries too. It's done all over the place. I'm not sure I don't think technology is going to fix those problems. You're right, you're equipping people. How do you equip someone so they can do defense? Which I think is morally okay for your country to defend your country, defend your family. Okay? I don't have any problem with that. But how do you equip people to do that and then make sure they're not also going to do something wrong?
Yeah, it's a line.
Really hard. But yes?
As far as nuclear weapons being purely bad, if we look at it kind of from the instrumentalist perspective, they're designed in an engineering standpoint to cause massive death and destruction. However, that engineering standpoint doesn't actually necessarily have to do with the purpose of them being created in the or are they trying to actually use them as a weapon?
Yeah. I mean, again, personally, I think that we have to accept that nuclear weapons are going to be present, and there's reasons for them to be present. I think that's just the reality in the current world. But I do irrespective of that, I think the problem I have with offensive nuclear war is a significant one, because it's a distinction. You know, I know it matters who makes the decision on how to use the weapon. But see, the thing is it's how if you look at weapons, the type of weapon matters a lot. Many countries ban landmines, because we all know what happens to them at the end is the conflict may end, and then they're out in some field and we don't have good technologies to detect landmines or remove landmines. Sorry, that's just reality. No one has been able to figure it out. It's too hard of a technical problem. And what happens, the way they're detected, is usually by little kids that get killed from them. Things like that, because they're out running in the field, not listening to mom and dad. Going out there. There's a lot of problems, with weapons like that. Another weapon that some people have trouble with is the cluster bombs that will go over a city and explode a bunch of little cluster pieces and send shrapnel flying and kill loads of people. A lot of people have difficulty with those kinds of weapons. But anyway, back to the question. I think you can see already that there's plenty of things in the world's problems that, engineers aren't going to solve. We're not going to solve. Other people will have to step forward to solve those problems. And sometimes it's working, with such people that really will get things done. Next, number 3 is realism about the power of technology, what it can and cannot do. Okay. Contextualism. These are the moral ambiguities in technology, say it's impossible to assess its good. Now, most engineers sort of combine 2 and 3. In other words, engineers tend to be very optimistic about technology. It's what we do, after all. It's what helps employ us. But they sort of have realism about the technology. I've sat in engineering meetings before. An engineer, propose an idea, and an engineer will say, "Oh, that's sci-fi. Come on, get real. That's not going to happen anytime soon." So, optimism, but realism about what it can do or not do is a typical view. Next, example, the internet. So, is it good or bad? So, the bad part of it is there's privacy invasions, porn, scams, viruses, etc. On the good side of it, there's communications, democracy or spread of liberty, productivity and efficiency, education, creativity, etc. So, I think that the point of this is that in the early internet history, it's good not to only see the bad, but the good that can come from it. And really, engineers should be the ones that guide the public and say what's possible, what's not. I see a lot of non-technical people make statements about the internet in particular, and they're just clueless. They don't understand. They seem to think that everybody can automatically get into everybody else's computer in the whole world. Somehow they think that their hard disk is accessible by Putin or something. It's just shocking. They can't get the idea what some people call the air gap. If there's no connection to the outside, there's no stinking connection to the outside, right? Now I know there's different ways to snoop with electromagnetics and so forth. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the lack of understanding of where boundaries are and the capabilities of the internet. There's a lot of misunderstanding about that. There's also a lot of misunderstanding about the ability to develop software and systems, and lack of understanding of errors in systems. Don't you sometimes, when you have an error, and I don't care where it's on an internet website or on a Microsoft Word or something, it happens and you're like, oh, it's got a bug, this kind of stuff. after you're familiar with technology for a while, you know this stuff happens, and it slowly gets fixed over time. Other people that don't understand technology don't understand the process of developing and improving technology, and they find they can get very upset or frustrated. Next, is technology value-laden or value-neutral? Let's explain what that means. So the value-neutral perspective says that it can be applied to good or bad. The key issue is how to apply it. There's a so-called value-laden perspective that says that our values, well, lead to technology. We as a society in the United States highly value technology. Okay, have for many years. Modern technology, okay, and have pushed to develop and it's viewed as cool and fun, etc. But don't think that every society in the world is like that. There's other societies reject it entirely. There are subcultures within the United States that reject it. Right? Name one. The Amish. Okay? I mean, so, you know, there's a lot of people actually in the world that reject this whole thing that we do. Now, our values lead to this technology. We have a value of efficiency. There's a very high value of efficiency. That leads us to not only create computers, but to use them and spread their use. We value security, and that's why we have a lot of technology in the military. We value entertainment or storytelling. Now, we value the TV, the radio, the internet, blah, blah, blah. Communications, well, the TV, the radio, phones, computers, etc. So these things that are our values are reflected in the technologies that we create. And really, engineers have, of course, key leadership role in this because we take those values and transform them into technological solutions. Next, moral leadership. Well, there's a number of approaches to this. The professional societies provide the codes. We looked at a couple. We looked at the NSPE code, and we looked at the IEEE code in this class. And then there's a number of different institutes and magazines that are regularly addressing these issues. The question is to what extent should these professional organizations push in these areas? For instance, should NSP plus IEEE plus ASCE, etc., ASME, push for licensing of all engineers? And then mandatory continuing education. Would this raise the professional level? I mean, you know, this might happen in my lifetime. This could come. My wife's a child psychologist. She has to go through continuing education a certain number of hours every 3 years and to get her license renewed. She can't practice without a license. Right now we have the EIT, Engineering Training Exam, and the PE, Professional Engineering Exam, but almost no electrical engineers take it because we practice without it. We don't need it. Like in civil engineering, it's much more common to take those exams and become a PE. Okay? So I think it'd be very difficult for this to be pushed on us, but the continuing ed would really be good for our profession. I mean, it is hard to find time at a job, busy as all get out, to just keep yourself professionally abreast with the subject matter that you're working on. That's very, very important for your success, okay, to stay modern, so to speak. You know how fast technology moves. That might be why you chose this field of electrical engineering. It moves fast. Many areas of engineering move very fast. And before you know it, your undergraduate degree, certain pieces of it will become out of date. That's just the reality. And you have to be the one then to take on your own continuing education challenge. So recommended further reading. You know, I think it's good if you care to, if you're a religious person, to go look at your religion's view on some of these issues. Many religions do have a view on social justice and ethics. Go for it. If you don't have such a view or not inclined that way, then look at the secular views. John Rawls' Justice is Fairness, or Marcia Sen's Idea of Justice. Okay, will give you a broader perspective. Social justice is simply what's fair. Right? What's fair between people and things like that. So it's a pretty complicated field actually, and actually very old and well developed. It actually gives motivation, rationale, and focus and goals for an engineer. I think it's a very reasonable thing to do. For instance, if you come to the weapons discussion we were just having, that's an extremely complicated topic. You could take an entire course on something like that. I would recommend that you just do a simple Google search and find a book or two and read it. Okay? There's a book called The Morality of War, for instance. Just Google something like morality and war, and you come up with several good books. Okay? And I'm not saying you have to. It's just if it's of interest to you, in particular, before you accept the job, you want to decide how to spend the rest of your career. Why not read about it? Okay? Actually, that's what I did before I took a job in the defense industry. I read about it in books. I went in, took the job. I worked for McDonnell Aircraft in St. Louis, Missouri, when they were a company. Boeing bought them up. So I think you would find that interesting. Okay, connected to these issues is the issue of trying to reduce poverty and underdevelopment, or reduce corruption, or human trafficking, or drug trafficking. Some of these topics, in particular this one, come into the area of humanitarian engineering. If you're interested in that, drop me an email. Next, community leadership. So do engineers have special responsibilities as citizens beyond non-engineers? So doctors are expected to speak out on health issues, and lawyers speak out on legal issues. Should engineers speak out on technological issues? Realize that as we become more and more technological as a society, I personally believe that engineers' status is going to raise, because they're the ones that are going to have the answers to questions with respect to the proper development and use of technology. And we are more and more going to be asked to step up to the plate in communities too. For instance, in social debates about safety, to give technical information. So the question is what's our public obligation? So, should there be more engineer politicians, or are we just going to let the lawyers run the show like they do right now? I think it's 98%. I think it's 98% of the House, Senate, etc. are lawyers. Okay. I had a good lawyer friend who once told me, Kevin, you have to understand, I know nothing but the law. In other words, I know the law, but I don't know anything else. Right, so you expect these people to make good decisions about technology, or even know enough of the right people to consult? I mean, so maybe we do need more engineers as politicians. I think so with respect to technology policy in particular. Ideals of voluntary service, we talked about this earlier in class. Should the engineering profession encourage pro bono services? It's been long encouraged in medicine, law, and education. And we really have a right to do volunteer work. If you're fully committed to the common good, it should be at least encouraged. I personally feel volunteer work should not be required, though. That's another very different stuff. So what can you do if you're interested? I had mentioned ECOS, Engineers for Community Service. There's a lot of activity that they do in the local, such as doing computer education and so forth. There's senior design projects that could be done in a variety of areas, or you could work with the local community, perhaps through ECOS. And there's quite a bit of activity in tutoring for math and science and other activities. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. I want to stop for a minute and ask you. I like to get feedback on the course, and I take, some feedback is not done seriously and constructively, but most feedback is very constructive, and I appreciate it. I've put a lot of work into this course. I try to touch on a wide variety of things, everything from, gender issues to war, at least touch on the issues, sometimes just to whet your appetite for the reading. Snowden, I got that suggestion last year and put it in as an example. Are there other things that you would have liked to have discussed? I got some nice emails from the class this semester, one person was interested in discussing this ignition switch issue. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's now the death toll that do this. It's a mechanical design mistake in the ignition switch. I think it's GM, and a death toll from that's 23 now, I believe. It's gone up just recently. So I studied the case at the student's request, and it has a number of features that are similar to other cases in the class, so I didn't do it. But you know, you're gonna as you leave the class and go on, you're gonna see cases like this come up for the rest of your life. Okay, and they're interesting cases. I mean, they make for you know, fun reading and but other topics. Anything? Yes.
There could be like the moral decisions with the recent talk about missions to Mars and sending people there with absolutely no plan on returning them.
Oh, I didn't know there was no plan to return.
Oh yeah. Somewhere it's a one-way trip.
How many people here are signing up for that? Yeah. Several. I know what you mean. There probably get plenty of people that'll sign up for it. Wow. Okay. My first reaction is it an engineering decision?
I mean, it's the person's personal choice if they want to go or not. But as an engineer, I mean, you're designing something. But yes, you're advancing science, our knowledge of Mars and the universe and everything. But at the same time, you're also building something that is going to kill someone. They're going to die while they're there.
That's like that makes sense.
Well, I mean, you're not
Cars
trying-
kill millions more people per year than this capsule that will kill 4 people when they run the course of their natural life.
Right. If I was the engineer, I wouldn't feel responsible for their death, but at the same time, I mean, I'm building something with knowledge, knowing that I'm sending somewhere where they will never return. I mean, if I'm designing a car, I'm not planning on killing the person driving in it.
But they will die.
Eventually.
Then if I'm in a car, you're gonna get hit.
Spend enough time on Earth to get that.
I mean, and it's all voluntary. You know, they're getting in this thing knowing exactly. It was the same thing with the Apollo astronauts. They knew exactly what the possibilities were.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not denying that at all. I'm not saying I'm responsible for their death or anything. It's just that, at least personally, internally, I would be thinking to myself, like, I'm sending someone somewhere where they will never come back. Yes, it's their choice, but I have a role in it. That's a personal thing for me.
Okay. Anything else? All right, second question. Is there a subject that you would like to see? It's very hard for me to balance how much time to spend on each. The case studies in particular, and the emphasis on the case studies. You know, you can modulate the time, and I try to do what I think is educational, of interest, and so forth. So, would you like to see more or less of one emphasis on one subject? I mean, a good percentage of you are going to go work for the automotive industry. If that percentage is 25%, then should I have 25% of my time spent on automotive problems? Another percentage of you is going to be going to work for the defense industry. Should I spend more time on that? Yes.
I do think a lot more time should be spent on the actual technology itself, the engineer. In terms of, I mean, the discussion earlier is technology good or bad? Whether we're talking about something as small as a disclosure agreement where you're working at one company, you have to move to another, or we're talking about something as big as weapons of mass destruction, I think there should be a larger emphasis placed on the ethics that have to go with us as an engineer compared to being a humanitarian. And I feel like this course is us as an engineer being compared to an engineer, somebody that's inside our own field.
So you would like, I understood part of what you're saying, but are you saying you'd like to see more connection between technical design and then the ethical issues?
Yeah, we talk about what does pollution if we go to a host country and we start up a business and they have all types of pollution aspects and things like that. It's nice to see there because we're talking about a humanitarian aspect.
when we're talking about like automotive systems that could potentially, you know, well, I guess take away jobs from people, or whether it's automated, I don't know, coding or something like that. Just kind of an actual connection to being a human, you know, in a system as a whole, as opposed to being an engineer in a system where we're just trying to make, you know, a profit or better a small, you know, portion of people's lives.
Not sure I'm
You know what I'm saying?
Not entirely. I'm getting part of what you're saying, but I'm trying to see how I would do what you're saying. I mean, specifically, and it seems to me the only way I can do what you're saying is do case studies in technology.
I think maybe just, you know, add a little something to the slides, like how would this situation affect humans as a whole?
Oh, bigger picture. You want to see
Yeah,
more bigger
a lot-
picture.
Yeah, much bigger.
Oh, interesting. All right, I'll have to think that through.
I just think we're kind of closed off. I mean, we are an engineering ethics class. I just think this is one of the only ethics class that a lot of engineers in our field, even at this school, get to go through.
That's true. I mean, I think there's always this debate in the teaching community for this area, that is between microethics and macroethics. So what you're really saying to me, I translate that as we need more macro.
Yeah, definitely.
That's traditionally a course like this is taught micro first, and then you have follow-on courses for macro, but we have no follow-on courses. But I know what you're saying. I try to balance a little bit of that by doing the global stuff at the end, but you're right. This is an emphasis on micro.
Yeah.
And I'll try to do what you're saying, because I tend to agree with that. It's very important to think about the big picture.
When we were talking earlier about the internet being, I mean, how can you stop war? Well, I mean, one good start is the internet that's finally for the first time, and you know, what we know as the existence of time is bringing the entire world together with one thing, where the communication is finally reaching everybody. I think that's like a really good starting point.
Okay, thanks.
There was something to that one.
Is there a comment behind? Yes.
Yeah, I thought the problems presented were very diverse. I thought it was a really good course. I thought
Thanks.
that the book was great. It was a good read, and it broadened my perspective on ethical issues. So I really like the course. Only improvement I can think of is some of the moral, ethical dilemmas were kind of like really weak. Like they weren't like that big of problems, and it's like
Yeah.
okay.
Are you talking about my moral dilemmas? Some of them I got from this class. Are you talking about those cases?
Those were fine.
Okay.
There were some on the slides from either the book or somewhere, and they were just weak.
All right, I'll reevaluate. I hear you, because some of good cases are hard to come by. I looked through hundreds of cases to come up with ones for this class, and the ones, of course, the ones from this class
Yeah.
have kind of there's sort of multiple roles there. My approach is, when you know it's coming right from this class, it's like, holy cow, somebody sitting right next to me, or whatever, is dealing with this, and that makes it real. Otherwise, I think this stuff becomes too abstract. You know, sort of not concrete with what we're really doing. But I'll reevaluate. Getting back to what you're saying, I'll reevaluate and see if which ones are weak. I would prefer to spend more time, less time, talking about a couple weak cases. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this class really helped me out a lot. I think that when I go into the workplace, I'm going to be better prepared.
Oh,
And
I
more
hope
avoid
so.
stupid, mistakes.
Well, thanks. I hope the class is useful. I've had people that are non-traditional students, a number of them over the years, come to me and say, this is what I will use every day. Every day in my job I use this.
Yeah.
And I've never done an integral. Okay? So, there is something to that. I mean, I think that in some jobs, this kind of stuff is really, really important. It affects your success and everything else. I know I've had complaints over the years that this is only a 1 credit hour class. Honestly, what I've done is I've shoved a lot in 1 credit hour class. That's what I've done. I mean, I try to hit you hard, the key concepts, boom, boom, boom. I figure you're engineers, you can handle it, okay? But in a lot of universities, this would be a 3 credit hour class. It would be stretched out, and there would be lots of discussion in the other hours, okay? That's, of course, productive, but those courses don't run in class sizes over 20, okay? It's hard to run discussion in here. The reason discussion works in here because there's a subset of people that are willing to speak up, that are articulate, they're opinionated, right? And we learn from those people in this class. I mean, that's the design, the way this is designed to work. So, any other comments? Anything you want to emphasize, de-emphasize? Okay, just a little bit more. Closing thoughts. So, professionalism really is just a lifestyle, and it can be developed over your entire career. Competence and behavior, that's what it's about, okay? Now, what you want to do is, after you retire, if you tell your grandchildren about your career, will you be proud to explain what you did? Ask yourself that question. When you're trying to make decisions in your everyday job, ask yourself that question. So you want to be able to look back on your career and be happy about what you've achieved. So try to make the right decisions so that will be the case. That's my own personal advice there at the end. Attendance question. See, we're even done early today. What was the single issue or topic that most influenced your views that was covered in this class? Number 2. Did you have any fundamental or significant or major disagreements with the ideas and approaches of engineering ethics as taught in this class? If so, please identify what you disagreed with via a short sentence or 2. If you had no fundamental, significant, or major disagreements, simply answer no. If you don't, I prefer to get this as an attendance question, but if you are in a hurry, you can put it in the teaching evaluation too, of course. I mean, I'm going to read that too. So you won't get these responses back. What Veronica will collect them. If you don't want your name associated with your response, put it on your sheet. She'll hand the responses to me, and I'll just read them all through. Okay? How you doing? Oh. What's up? There's seats in it, so I checked just about an hour ago. Just pop me an email, I'll send it to Susan and staff. When they want us to try this. Yeah. Okay, good. Look forward to seeing you. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
I also, I'm in my capstone class.
Yeah.
And Professor Reginald said it might be interesting to talk to people and 3D design is solar-powered cell generation.
Oh, really?
So basically, you set it outside, you make it yourself, you bring it up, plug it in.
Yeah, I am interested. So you're going to have a report?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just check it out, and then we'll take care of it. All right, no problem. See ya.